Hey. Hello, Frank.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
How's
Denis.
the life?
Hello, everybody on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and with the chat on LinkedIn and YouTube. We're also on Twitter.
And don't forget about Twitter and Instagram. We even stream to Instagram.
Yep.
We are fancy. We are very fancy. But who knows? Probably folks who, checking.
And Twitch. Sometimes we have a few people watching from Twitch.
For sure. So welcome to our next episode of the YugabyteDB community open hours. Today we selected a very appealing topic because many of us use Kubernetes, and I keep seeing a large number of deployments, of database deployments in Kubernetes. So that's obvious. I remember the times when Kubernetes, people from the database community and Kubernetes community were questioning whether Kubernetes is the right choice for database deployments. These days, I think that this question is answered. Yes, you can use it. But we want to focus today on multi-region database deployments with Kubernetes. How can you arrange multiple standalone Kubernetes clusters across multiple regions, and how do you deploy your database, your distributed PostgreSQL database, which is YugabyteDB? And we've got a special guest. We're not going to walk through the slides, right, Frank? We prefer to avoid slides. Instead, it's going to be a hands-on experience. That's why we've got our special guest, Vishnu. He is waiting us on the backstage of the studio, and he will join us in 5 minutes. But also, Frank, you remember that, right? And you keep reminding me about this, Denis. Yeah, like even if we select the main topic, we need to give a hint to the guys that this community open hours live stream is designed for you, my friends. If you have any other questions that you would like us to discuss or answer, anything like that, run by us. We have the comments.
And we have already one question.
Seriously? Come on.
Yeah, from YouTube, we have one question from Tabani.
Let me show it. It's from Habani. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. Greetings to all. How do we get this database to replicate in 2 data centers and split by primary keys? I'll give you a video. And actually, the fun thing is that Frank and we have been discussing an episode about this topic. We are going to do a live stream in June. Stay tuned. But I will share with you a video that shows you how to use a 2 data centers deployment. And the second question I'm thinking of using,
basically the challenge with 2 data center is that you don't have a quorum, so you cannot use the Raft replication with 1 leader and 2 followers distributed for the shards because you don't have a quorum. So with 2 data centers, the major kind of deployment is having 1 cluster on each data center and asynchronous replication between them. I can share.
Let's share this. Let's share some content.
Our colleague Srini has written a blog post about it. If I put that here in the chat, I think it goes to most platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So this blog post explains a bit what can be done, and basically asynchronous replication is with cross cluster, but we will address that. Maybe you know the date, Denis. We will address that soon.
And stay tuned. Exactly, and stay tuned for an episode. I'm typing because I want to share it for an episode on June 20th, where Frank and I will be demonstrating this live. But in the meantime, you don't need to wait for that one. That one will be dedicated. We've already shared with you various resources. Check them out. And
Tabani, if you have other questions before that, do not hesitate to reach to us on our Slack channel, on forum, and tag Denis or I, and we will look at it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's a good start. You've already got a question. Excellent. So Now, before we go to our main topic, before we discuss those multi-region deployments in Kubernetes, Frank, the news in the world of YugabyteDB and PostgreSQL. I've got one piece of news.
Yeah, you have an important one because everybody's asking for that for.
Okay, what are the people asking about? I let you.
When they look at the features, they are okay with the features we have. But when they look at the Postgres compatibility version, then they ask, are you really compatible with Postgres 11? When do you move to newer versions? Because that's our goal, to follow the versions of Postgres.
Exactly. And what I sometimes hear from application developers and architects, like I show capabilities of YugabyteDB, and folks stop by and say, "Hey, we liked it, and we think that YugabyteDB will help to improve our Postgres deployments from the high availability performance perspective." But the thing is, you are running on Postgres 11th, but we use Postgres 14th. Will it work for YugabyteDB? How is it? How are we going to switch if you are not running on Postgres 15th? And the thing is that sometimes, even if you run on Postgres 14th, it doesn't mean that you need all of the features of Postgres 14th. And you might be absolutely good enough to go to YugabyteDB, which is still on Postgres 11th. But the piece of news for today is this. We decided to tell the story and share more news on what's happening, because I think it's no longer a secret that YugabyteDB have been working on the major upgrade to the next versions of Postgres. And today, just 30 minutes ago, we published an article. This is an article written by Trevor, an engineer on their YugabyteDB core team. And it's written for engineers, for you guys. Like, basically, he shares our experience. And this picture, what this picture shows, as many distributed database companies who want to become Postgres compatible, we started this kind of Postgres compatibility story by adding Postgres features incrementally. But eventually we understood that no, it's going to be a never-ending story, because even if you want to support this simple /d command that is available through PSQL tool, then take a look at its source code, my friends. It's just, you need to implement this stuff, which means that if you truly want to be Postgres runtime compatible and feature compatible, that you need to support all of those, tables from the system catalog. You need to support error codes, etc., etc. And after seeing what needs to be done just for that simple /d command, the team decided, no, let's just go the other way around and integrate the PostgreSQL source code. And eventually, this picture shows that the first prototype of YugabyteDB running on Postgres 11th back in the days. And since that moment, we decided that no, we will be using the Postgres source code. And this article will introduce you to the reasons why YugabyteDB is still on Postgres 11th. I don't want to discuss them right now, just read it. I will share this content with you. And then we also show you how YugabyteDB architecture is similar or different from Postgres. This is Postgres, and then this is kind of a simplified version of YugabyteDB. And finally, we talk about this merge process, what's happening right now, what we are going to get with this. And there will be much more content from our engineering team on this topic, because you will be able to follow our journey, this migration from Postgres 11th to 15th. And also, this Friday, in a couple of days, we are doing our YugabyteDB Friday Tech Talk, where one of our engineers will join Karthik, our CEO, to discuss this in details. So I will share both things with you. Take a look at the article and make sure to join YFTT.
It's also a great insight on database engineering, the reasons why, because it looks easy because we use Postgres code. It looks easy to follow the versions, but there are reasons when we want to scale out, when we want to have more features, and yeah, it's good to understand how the product management and the engineers are doing it.
Exactly, and we wanted this story to be told by the engineering team, because we want you just to hear everything that happens internally. And if you want to know like those low-level details, it's better when someone. And Trevor, he has an excellent writing style. It took us some time to put together this article, but folks, I think that you would love it. Let me do this. I'm sharing these two links with you, my friends, and then we are moving forward to our next section. By the way, Frank, any news from you, or you're good to go?
No, nothing special. I think we have a large demo, so let's go to
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I'm not prepared. And before we go, we got another feedback from Habani. Thanks, guys. I followed you on Yugabyte for a long time, so it was easy to ask you. Wonderful. Thanks, and thanks for coming, and thanks for joining us today. We do believe that you will not regret spending this time here live. Please send your questions.
And it's also a good idea to test all those DR things in Dockerized version, because in a lab you can play with many things and see the different scenarios. So yeah.
Okay, that's true. That's true. All right, so let's bring our main guest to the stage. Hello, Vishnu. Thanks for coming, and you need to mute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, all good. Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Good, and very nice to have you.
Yeah, hopefully that was a good warm-up for you.
Yeah, it was a good warm-up. I think the most interesting news is the movement beyond Postgres 11. I guess a lot of people are excited about it.
Yeah, it's the right move. It's the right move. There are some of the reasons why it took us so long to invest more into this project. But those who will check, I don't want just to do any spoilers today. Let guys read the article, and then they can join the YFTT to ask the questions to our engineering team who will be leading that session. In the meantime, my friend, tell us quickly about yourself, why you decided to look into the multi-region deployments with YugabyteDB, and what are you doing with YugabyteDB?
Okay, absolutely. So before that, I'll first introduce myself. My name is Vishnu, and I've been with the IT industry for almost about 7+ years now. And I'm working for Srijan as of now, and my core responsibility is to create some resilient platforms that can host a variety of workloads from data centers, from AI/ML workloads to other workloads in data centers as well as public clouds. So that brings us to today's topic, right? Multi-region Yugabyte deployment. So recently, like why we went into towards the multi-region deployment is recently we have a customer who was asking about the multi-region deployment capabilities of not the application but the database, and that reminds me of one of the topic that Yogi has shared, and I remember a particular line which says, "Why should apps have all the fun?" Right? Because in this modern era, in the cloud native world, we only talk about the stateless applications, like right, the apps can scale like 500 times. There's no limitations, but when it comes to database, there's always some limitations. So yeah, I mean, why should apps have all the fun? That's where I was very keen on exploring the multi-region deployments for Yugabyte, not a stateless application. And of course, when you talk about the cloud native, you hear Kubernetes in your head, right? So yeah, when Kubernetes comes into your mind, that helps you create that distributed architecture. And Yugabyte being a distributed database, everything just fits right perfectly, right? So yeah, I mean, that's where we decided to create a whole sort of a POC, which we did for one of the client, and this POC makes use of all these good things about Yugabyte, EKS, AWS, Istio, and puts it all together.
I like this saying that why application developers should have all the fun. And this is a very good point, because what another regular phrase that I hear from time to time is that databases are a boring component, meaning that you can fall asleep. That's why application developers usually would like to experiment with new fancy frameworks and libraries, etc., new technologies, protocols. But databases are here to stay, and I think that you can have a lot of fun with databases, especially when your task is to run across multiple regions. It's a very appealing engineering exercise, right? If you want to grow as an architect or senior level engineer, try to deploy multi-region applications without focusing on a database. And your fun level probably will increase, go even higher if you need to combine this with Kubernetes.
Yes. It gets complicated on very, very different levels, right? Not just that you have to deploy a database, you have to scale it, you have to have fault tolerance and all these things. So yeah, it's very complicated for database, and it's not really boring.
Exactly. Okay, so before we start, actually, question to you folks, because I have my opinion and I might be opinionated, but the question is to you, Vishnu, and to you, Frank. Why would the one need to deploy a database across multiple regions? Because some of the guys who are watching us right now might not have a full picture. What you, Vishnu, see like when you work with your customers? Why would they want to deploy multi-region DBs?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the prime reason of choosing a multi-region deployment is to have a DR and a high availability, right? So when you talk about multiple region, you need a resource, application, a website, some service to be highly available across multiple regions. So let's say if I have an application that is deployed in Australia, but I have customers that are there in US or maybe even Europe. Of course, they can still access it, but then there are a lot of other things like latency that comes into picture when they are actually accessing it through only one load balancer that is actually residing in your Australia region. But when it comes to multiple regions, you can actually deploy a lot of applications, a lot of databases which are closer to people, right? Which are closer to the users. That gives you, first of all, less latency, and also like as we talk about high availability. Let's say one region goes down, which is very unlikely event, but let's say one region goes down, then of course we have other regions as a failover, right? So we can always keep our business up and running, which is again one of the one of the most important things when you have billions of dollars on your business, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to lose money, especially customer data. What's the saying? We have this saying, the data is your money. Yeah, the data is your advantage over your competitors. And if something bad happens to your data, then guess what?
It's a worst nightmare, man.
Do you have any scary story from the past? Anything like that?
Not so scary. Fortunately, that has not happened yet.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, I have seen some scenarios where some things have happened, but with me, fortunately, that has not happened.
But it's enough to know that it can happen, and then need to prepare for that. And there is also another reason. Deploying multi-region doesn't mean that you will distribute at random all your data on all regions. You have also regulations, data sovereignty rules, and then you can deploy multi-region, but maybe partition your table to put some data in some country. For example, in Europe, we cannot store. There's a lot of data that we cannot store outside of Europe if it concerns European citizens.
Yeah,
I think in India you have also similar rules similar to GDPR or something.
Yeah, I cannot. I heard that in India there are some of the rules related to in the financial system. I'm not sure like whether they are kind of already enforced or not, but I was reading that if Indian citizens they are paying like doing some transactions, like buying something, right? That all of those transactions, payment details, they have to be stored in India, in the data centers of India, not in the United States or not in Europe. At least this is what I heard. How's it accurate, Vishnu?
Yes, that's pretty much accurate. I was talking to one of my friend long before, and the same scenario came where one of the very famous financial company, the transactions usually, even though they were using AWS, but they were not actually storing the details on AWS. It was only for their web applications, but not anything related to their transactions. So yeah, that has to be there on the data centers residing in India. It cannot go out.
Okay, then that's another reason for using multi-region applications. To conclude, because we've already sometimes this topic is very appealing. That's why we can discuss it for hours. To conclude, my friends, why do you need to have multi-region application? The first one, as Vishnu said, like high availability disaster recovery. It's obvious you can tolerate region level outages. Then data residency requirements. This is what Frank suggested, because if you live in Europe, you have GDPR. If you live in other parts of the world, you might have your own data regulatory requirements. And finally, latency, it might sound counterintuitive, but as Vishnu said, that you might have, let's say, your...
Oh, we have lost Denis.
We lost Denis.
Okay. I think we'll go directly to the demo then.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go directly to the demo. Meanwhile, Denis is joining. I'll probably share my screen and then we can go from there, right?
Do you know where to share it? The button present?
Yeah. I'll share. Let me know if it is visible.
Not yet, but it will come.
Not yet, yeah. Let me...
Yeah, I click on Add to Stage and we can see it. Yeah, perfect.
All right. Yep. Okay. That's great. So there are no slides for today. Disclaimer. But yeah, we do have but we do have a blog that I have written a few weeks back, and this exactly tells what we are going to do today. So what this blog is basically, there are a few introductions about why to choose YugabyteDB. Of course, because we are getting the transactional consistency in a distributed fashion, which is awesome. So your monolithic SQL databases, they offer the SQL and low latency reads, but they don't have the fault tolerant as YugabyteDB, right? And we're also going to choose EKS for this demo because, yeah, it is very easy to create Kubernetes clusters on AWS using EKS. And we're going to use Istio, why and how I'm going to explain in a bit of a time. But overall, the deployment would look something like this. So what we see here is 3 AWS regions. One is your Mumbai region, then you have Singapore region, and you have Hyderabad region. So there are 3 different AWS regions where I have deployed Kubernetes cluster, EKS clusters. So all 3 regions have their own availability zones as well. And what we have done is I've deployed Yugabyte masters and tablet servers across the multiple ACs and multiple regions. So now what is there's a key thing that we need to note is the Istio, right? So why Istio? Why are we using it? And what is Istio? I'll just give you a very short brief. So Istio is basically a cluster mesh in your Kubernetes deployments. So what you can do with Istio is basically a lot of things. Like you can use Istio for your traffic management. So when you use Istio, you create a sort of a cluster, create a sort of a service mesh, and then you can handle your traffic. Like you can send a part of your traffic from one on one service and other part of the traffic to other service. Hey, hi, Denis. I guess you lost your internet.
Yeah, what happened? My Wi-Fi is dead. I don't know what happened. Probably there is something. I live in Florida. I checked outside. There is no any hurricane right now, but I connected through my cellular connection, mobile connection. That's why. But it's good that, like, sometimes you still depend on different cables and connectors.
And this is why we have a quorum also. We distribute. We are distributed across 3 regions also, because Vishnu is in India and you are in Florida and I'm in Europe. So
no
disruption. Right?
Yeah, no any disruption. This is actually a good example. No disruption. We carry on. All right, folks. I'll go on mute.
So basically Istio can be used for a lot of reasons. One is traffic management. You can route your traffic between services, do A/B testing, configure your retries, a lot of things. And then also you have security built in, like you can can have a mutual TLS between your internal communication easily just by deploying Istio. And then also you can have you gain a lot of observability when you deploy Istio. You gain insights on how your services are performing, on how your traffic is shifting towards various services. And in case some services are not performing well, services have some issues, you can easily identify it using your observability, right? So Istio in today's scenario, what I'm going to use Istio for is for the multi-cluster setup. So if you see here,
I have a question for you, but maybe later you see. Do we need Istio for that, or it's just that it's easier and adds more feature?
Okay, yeah. So I'll explain why exactly we need Istio here, right? So here in this demo, we need Istio because your one region is in Mumbai, which is not connected to Singapore via VPN. So currently, the setup does not use any VPC peering or any VPN,
Okay.
which means your database has your Yugabyte database has to replicate the data across multiple tablet servers, right? And here my one setup is residing in Mumbai region, another is in Singapore, and another is in Hyderabad. But still there has to be a replication, right? Some data that has being written in Singapore region has to be replicated to Mumbai and Hyderabad, right? So we need some sort of network connectivity. Without network connectivity, the replication, of course, doesn't the replication cannot happen. So why Istio is because Istio, here we are using the Istio's east-west gateway feature. Before explaining the east-west gateway, I'll just explain what is east-west traffic and what is north-south traffic quickly. So in Kubernetes context, your east-west gateway, east-west traffic is usually the traffic that is internal to your Kubernetes cluster. That is basically your interpod communication, internal service communications, which usually do not go out of your Kubernetes clusters. And your north-south traffic is usually the traffic that has been generated by your users, right? Like let's say you have a website and user is using it, that will generate some traffic, and using ingress and load balancers, your north-south traffic will reach to your Kubernetes clusters, and that's how you will serve those requests, right? So that is usually your north-south traffic. Now, since these three Kubernetes clusters are residing in different regions without a network, we need some sort of an east-west gateway, right? So that a traffic that is leaving the Mumbai region can reach to Singapore region through some link. So what Istio does is Istio creates that east-west gateway, and then it tells the other Istio that, okay, if a traffic needs to go from one Kubernetes cluster to the other, then it has to go via this route, and Istio handles it, right? So all the traffic that has to be communicated among these three clusters is handled by Istio again. Again, this is a service.
Question to you, if you allow. In this configuration, and I also experimented with the same configuration, with a comparable configuration, but on the Google Cloud, we have 3 standalone Kubernetes clusters. And that's the reason why you need to have something in the middle, something that will let you communicate between those clusters. What's your take? What's your thinking? Why it's not advised to deploy Kubernetes across multiple regions? Because you can deploy YugabyteDB across multiple regions, but the Kubernetes in the Kubernetes world usually you don't do this. What's your opinion on that?
Okay, the biggest challenge which usually we face with the Kubernetes multi-regional Kubernetes deployment, in my opinion, is your internal service discovery. Right. So let's say you have a service that has been deployed in Kubernetes in one region. There's another service that has been deployed on Kubernetes. Now, if you want to make sure that there is an internal service discovery, which means there has to be one DNS that has to be responsible for the FQDN of your internal services, right? Which is your svc.cluster.local. Which in case of two services which are not directly interconnected, it makes sense, right? But in case if you want that inter-service communication, that becomes very difficult because your DNS one kube DNS is residing in one Kubernetes cluster, another kube DNS is residing in another Kubernetes cluster, and none of them have any idea like which services are running on these two clusters. So that becomes a bit complicated. And again, this Istio also solves this issue. Currently in my setup, if I go ahead and resolve any service FQDN in one Kubernetes cluster, I'll also be able to resolve into the other Kubernetes cluster. But yeah, of course, this is a very complicated architecture. But in my opinion, this is one of the most difficult things to achieve. And a lot of service mesh like Huma and Consul, they also do that. But in that scenario, I have seen that your FQDN changes a bit. It is no longer your cluster.service.local, which is your Kubernetes default, like svc.local. It becomes something like .cluster.mesh or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go then to your cluster. Let's see what you've got. Let's experiment with it.
Yep, absolutely. So deploying Kubernetes EKS clusters, I'll just move ahead. Setting up Istio is fine. I've already set up, but just to show you what we have set up is based on this documentation, which is your multi-primary on different networks. Here is an example of two, which is your cluster 1 and cluster 2. So any service that is in the cluster 1 has to talk to service B in cluster 2. I will go via gateway. So this is what we have configured in our scenario, in our deployment as well.
Okay.
And one more amazing thing is, So if you see here, since the east-west gateway is usually the internal traffic, right? But here we are exposing it via internet because there is no VPC peering. But still, we can call it as secure because Istio also takes care of your mutual TLS, right? So here, all the traffic which is going from this cluster to cluster 2, it is actually encrypted with the same CA as on the both sides. So this is where your security also comes in. It's not like if you're exposing your east-west traffic, which means your internal traffic you're exposing to outside, it is very unsafe, right? Of course, it is not as secure as keeping the traffic inside the cluster, but here in this context also, it is much safer because you are getting the mutual TLS.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, now what I'll do is I'll probably show
and
you.
The question for you is what is this tool called? Still, you mean the Istio or what you just discussed?
It's Istio. So Steel. Not sure about Steel. It's Istio, ISTIO. Maybe.
Istio. Yeah, it's. Let me type it. Istio.
Yeah, just help me type
It's on
it.
the
So
screen.
this is a tool.
ISTIO, yeah.
Yep, this is the tool. So for this demo, I've already created the Kubernetes clusters. I've already deployed the Istio. Now the next thing that I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and deploy the Yugabyte in front of you guys. Then we can go ahead from that. So
can you show this?
Can
you run a few commands and show us those 3 clusters of Kubernetes?
Absolutely. So
and if you can make the font size bigger, just a little bit, Command plus, a bit more. Yeah. And one more time, try to.
One more time.
One more time. Yeah, this way.
And I will mention for people, we have put the link to the blog post, and Vishnu has also a GitHub repository with everything. When I tried it, I just copy pasted, and it takes just half an hour, I think, to create the EKS, the free EKS clusters, and then install Istio. But it's something that is easy to try if you have an AWS account, of course.
Okay, that's right. Usually that's the longest time. It takes time to deploy those.
Yeah, that's why I have already created the EKS clusters, but I have already created the EKS clusters, and I've already deployed the Istio. So what I'll do is I'll use K9s just to show you because it looks very fancy using K9s. So currently I'm in Singapore context, which shows you that I've already deployed the Istio. So you can see the Istio D is running, Istio Ingress gateway as well as the east-west gateway is running. So east-west gateway is for your east-west traffic, and Grace gateway is basically for your north-south traffic. And I'll also change the context and also show you that Mumbai region also has the same thing, right? So I'm now in the Mumbai region. In Mumbai region also, I have deployed Istio. Your east-west gateway is also deployed here. And same goes for the Hyderabad region.
So the configuration is the same. The only one thing that is different is the location of the clusters region, correct?
Yes, correct. The location of the cluster is different, and there are some steps that are the prerequisites, like you need to register the API server for each of the STOD services. But yeah, you can follow them on the blogs. I'll move with the next part, which is actually deploying the Yugabyte. So currently YugabyteDB is not running. I'll probably just go ahead and deploy the Yugabyte. Yeah. So deploying the Yugabyte is again as simple as deploying a Helm chart. There is an open source, since there is open source version of YugabyteDB available, you can always go ahead and deploy the YugabyteDB using Helm charts. You just need to add the repo to your local Helm repository, and then you can just deploy it. Before that, I'll just deploy the namespaces. I'll probably just copy paste. I hope it's already there.
Maybe I can mention, a lot of people are asking about operators, but we have also operators. But to install, it's easier to customize from the Helm chart. I don't know if you tried the operator that we have, but Helm chart is probably the best way.
Okay, yeah, I've not tried operator, but hopefully I'll try it. So the YB demo already exists. That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll now install the YugabyteDB on all the regions. So what this command is doing is basically iterating in all the regions, and then it is deploying the YugabyteDB. And the only thing that is different in all the deployments is the overrides file. I'll just show you the example of one override file, which is there in the Singapore region. So here, the most important thing is, again, you have to mention that since we are deploying it across multiple regions, you have to put the multi-AZ as true. We have put the Istio compatibility again as true. We have to also mention that we are using it in a multi-cluster fashion, which when you choose multi-cluster, you have the option to create one service per pod as well. By default, you will not create a service per pod, but it helps you to make sure that each service has a pod so that you can directly talk to that pod using that service. Okay.
And you're gonna the reason why you specify one availability zone is because in this demo you're gonna have just one node in every region, right? You don't need to have.
Yes, correct. Yeah. That is why we have only one AZ, because I have multiple regions, but and also multiple AZs, but I'm only deploying in one AZ.
Makes sense. Yeah. Let's go ahead and deploy that cluster. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. And there's one more important point is your master addresses, right? So this is one of the very important thing where your each master and your each tablet server needs to know what all the master addresses are, and it should also be reachable. So as you can see, even though I'm on multiple regions, multiple clusters, but since I'm using cluster.local, and I'm providing the master addresses of each one of them so that each one of them are able to talk to each other.
And this line, you have these three master processes running in three different Kubernetes clusters and three regions. And this is exactly why you need Istio as a middleman, right? Because all those masters will be able to talk to each other because you have Istio, and Istio will be able to transfer and resolve this traffic. But for us, it's just, it looks like one big multi-region cluster from the application standpoint and from the deployment.
Yes, absolutely correct. Yes. We'll also deploy a sample application just to show like how it looks.
Okay.
But for now, I'll just go ahead and maybe deploy it.
And my friends, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Don't wait till the last minute, because what might happen And Frank and I, we need to do a better job. Sometimes we, keep discussing, keep showing, and we run out of time. That's why don't wait for the last 5 minutes. Ask the questions right now. We will be monitoring those questions on LinkedIn as well, because LinkedIn doesn't stream those questions directly to us, to our studio.
And I will mention something. It's very important that each server knows in which region it is, because Yugabyte will distribute the data to be fault tolerant. It must know the regions to distribute it in the 3 regions, because you don't want to have 3 replicas in the same region.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you need 3 different override file there, at least to mention the in which region it is.
Yes, absolutely. That's why we have 3 override files. This will be your Mumbai region, and then we have separately for Singapore region and also your Hyderabad region. So we are deploying all of them with the separate override files.
How's the deployment going? Is it up and running or has it failed? I'm just waiting for the failures. Oh, no.
Not yet.
Right. Don't. The guys should be mad at me. Dennis, come on, we have not. It's too early to talk about.
It has already deployed on Mumbai region. It has already deployed on
installs
Singapore.
to one region after another. You can run them in the background to do it at the same time, but it's probably easier to follow the logs when it runs one after the other.
Exactly. Yeah. So now it has been deployed, but I'll also go ahead and deploy some additional Kubernetes services that are required for the multi-region setup. I'll explain in a while, but let get deployed. All right, now it has been deployed. So now I'll go to the K9s and I'll show you that if you see the YP demo namespace, you see there is one master 0 and one T server that has been deployed. And similarly, if I show you the Singapore region, you'll also see there has also been deployment, right? And for each region, what we are doing is we are deploying one master and one T server. Of course, you can have multiple T servers across each region to even have more scalability, to even have more availability. But yeah, just for the sake of this demo, we are deploying one master and one T server on each region.
The master, we don't need more than one master because it has only the metadata, so they are free to be highly available and resilient if a region is down. But we have never seen a case where we need more than one master, so there is only one. Yeah.
And let's make a pause because Tabani is sending a wave of respect to Frank. Yeah, Frank knows this very well.
Thank you, Tabani.
Yeah. And also what to mention, folks, just to quickly recap, because I'm just recapping a lot of this stuff in my head. I want to speak it out loud. We have 3 standalone Kubernetes clusters. And those clusters are interconnected using Istio so that the clusters and the services and deployments can talk to each other if necessary. But the YugabyteDB cluster is it's stretched. It's just a single YugabyteDB cluster. And when we will start our application workload, when we will be changing data, then we are going to use the synchronous replication, the RAT consensus protocol. YugabyteDB will be just relying on the underlying infrastructure of Kubernetes and Istio to bypass this traffic, and that's it. But it's going to be one single cluster, recovery point objective of 0, and recovery time objective, I think, is measured in seconds.
Yep.
All right, back to you, Vishnu.
All right, so if you talk about the services, we have got one load balancer URL, which I'm just going to open in my browser.
Mm-hmm. And can you also connect to Yugabyte and show us the cluster if it's easy to do right now? Or if it's here.
It is,
yeah, it's here. So as you can see, the setup is now complete. So what you see on the right side is your masters. I'll probably zoom in a bit. Yeah, on the right side, you see all the masters. And if you see, all 3 of them are in consensus, and your leader is right now Hyderabad region. And also, if I go to tablet servers, you'll see that there are 3 tablet servers visible, and all are currently distributed in these 3 regions. Right, so any of these tablet servers can now take traffic, both read and write.
Okay.
Can you go quickly to utilities and something like T-server clocks? Yeah. You have T-server clocks. Yeah, just because I'm curious about the latency between the nodes. So we see the heartbeat RTT. One is short because those are heartbeats from the master. So I guess the master is in Hyderabad. So it's short. And then the latency to the other, to Mumbai, it's 15 milliseconds and 46 milliseconds to Singapore.
Could you highlight, like, are you talking about this heartbeat RTT column?
Yes, yes.
Could you, yeah, Vishnu, could you highlight it for the guys? Yeah, because I was I spent some time trying to find it, what Frank is talking about. Yeah, okay. So that's basically the latency, right? That's an average. This is
it gives an idea on the latency on the
between-
cluster. Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's usually okay.
That's
Okay.
great. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, but still there are so if I go to your configuration, there is no cluster configuration set. You still need to set up a cluster configuration to let the Yugabyte know that how have you placed your masters and T servers across the clusters. So there is one more command that I'll quickly run that will set up the global data distribution, which will actually tell your master that, okay, you have deployed this in a multi-cluster fashion. So I'll just quickly run this, and then we will again see that configuration. Okay, we have ran it. Now, if I go and show you the full configuration, you just see that the cluster configuration has been updated. So you basically have to put the placement blocks to let Yugabyte know that okay, we have to distribute the tables in such a way that you have multiple replicas spread across multiple regions, not just in one region, right?
And are you planning to show preferred region or not today?
Yeah, I'll just show that. Okay, so now what I will do is I'll quickly run a sample application. Okay, so again, this is a sample application that is provided by Yugabyte folks. So it is just a sample application. I'll target the T-server common service. This T-server common service is spanned across all 3 regions, basically. So if I will hit this, it can hit any of the tablet server. Okay, now I'm inside. I'm inside the
So it's
Singapore
a load
region's
balancer
master.
over all services.
Yes, it's the load balancer for all T servers.
Okay.
Which your tablet servers, basically. So all your traffic, all your reads and writes are usually handled by your tablet servers, right? So it's a load balancer for all your tablet servers. And I'm currently running this application in Singapore region. Okay, so I'll just start this. Okay, what it will do is it will also create a table. Currently, there are no user-defined tables. It'll also create a table called Postgres SQL key value. And yeah, okay, now it has started performing the operations. So as you can see, it is performing both reads and writes. Like for example, here the read is 200 operations per second, and also write is approximately 7 operations per second based on the number of threads that I have provided. So this continuously keeps on doing reads and writes. And from the Yugabyte level, if I now show you the tables, you will see there is one table which has come up, which is your table that has been just created. And also, if I go to tablet server, you will see that currently my Singapore tablet server is taking most of the reads and writes operations, right?
So here the reads and writes are going all to one region because I guess there is only one tablet.
But
the table was created range-ordered, so it starts with one tablet.
Yes.
You know
correct.
what? You know what? But that's one tablet. That's why you have one master. When you have multiple tablets, and this is the reason why I asked about this preferred region. I missed this command. Let me quickly take over the screen. I will show the folks what I meant. Where is it? Where is it? In this one. There is another command that allows you to define the preferred zones or regions. And this is especially useful when you have multiple tablets, where you have multiple tables. And in this case, when you define those preferred regions, it means that the nodes from that preferred region by default will be handling all the read and write requests. And that will help you to minimize the cross-regions traffic. So this is something that, folks, you also need to keep in mind if you are selected a multi-region deployment, and then you are looking on the ways how to optimize the latency. Keep in mind the preferred regions as well, configuration. Okay, back to you, Vishnu.
I'll again share my screen. All right. So here currently, as you see, the traffic is being taken mostly by the Singapore tablet server, but I'll just go ahead and delete the Singapore tablet server just to see what happens.
Okay. Now we are talking, it's high availability.
Cool.
Let's bring some mayhem. Yeah, we need to do that.
We can mention that we do that in a lab. In production, it can happen in production, but you don't want to test it in production.
But you have to test it in pre-production, right? You have to test it in pre-production.
You do have to. Chaos testing should always be done.
And it's funny. Okay,
Yeah,
what are you
so
doing?
What I'll do is I'll just make the tablet server replica as 0, which means your tablet server has suddenly stopped responding. And you will see some error in the logs because your connection was instantly not connected.
Yeah, can you please increase the font size and highlight this error? I want to briefly discuss it with the folks. Yeah, this one, connection reset by peer. So what's shown here, my friends, is that by default, I guess that you're using some connection pool, which means that there will be several connections open to various database nodes in the regions. But obviously, those connections that you open to that failed node, they will be closed. But the good news is that it can be handled automatically by the drivers. And also your application needs to have the try catch or whatever statement. In Java, it's try catch, so that you can catch this failed transaction and just execute it one more time. It's just usually it happens within several seconds. And this is how you can tolerate region level outages with no any data loss, recovery point objective of 0, and recovery time objective is just, several seconds. It depends on how quickly.
So if you see just after the error, it automatically started retrying, and then your operations per second are again back to normal, right? I didn't even touch anything. I didn't even restart the pod yet. The pod is still down. So if I show you, the pod is still 0 out of 0. And but still your application is still up and running. And
Can I add something also? In real life, you will probably have application servers in all regions also. And then each application server in one region connects to the nodes in that regions, which means that, of course, if one region is down, the two are down. So those connections are lost. But you should not, with the right deployment, you should not see this disconnection to reconnect to another region, because if the region is down, then the application there and the database there is down. It just continues on the other ones.
Yep.
And also this approach and also that approach that Frank you discussed is you need to follow it if you want to optimize the latency for those multi-region deployments. If let's say if you are going across multiple regions, not only from the standpoint of high availability, but also you want your users living in India, Singapore to have comparable latency, then this is what you need to do. Not only you have data in those locations, but also you have application instances in those locations. And then the global load balancers, they can route the traffic from your users to the closest services, to the closest application instances.
Yeah.
Okay, it was fast. You wanna restore this? What's next? We have 5 minutes, and folks, this is just a quick note. Just send if you still waited for the best moment to ask a question. That's the last moment. Keep sending your questions. In the meantime, Vishnu, what else you wanted to show?
Yeah, just one more thing is if I go now in utilities, and then if I go to replica info, you will now see that there are some under replicated tables, right? Which means there are some transactions that has not been replicated to all the regions, all the T servers, because we have shut one down. So your Yugabyte keeps track of all these transactions actually, and can actually say it like there are some under replicated tables. So if let's say I make the reason back up.
Just to be clear, it's not that transactions are not replicated. It's the transaction tablet that doesn't have the 3 replicas. They have only 2. But the transactions themselves, they continue because the leader has been elected in another one.
Yeah, it's more over warning, because we configured the cluster with the replication factor of 3, which means that we need to have 3 copies of the data. But for the Raft consensus protocol, we know it. If you have replication factor of 3, you need to get a quorum of 2, which means that even if you have 2 nodes, you are operational, no data loss. But this is a warning that you should bring back the third node back to the cluster, because guess what? If you
before
lose
the next failure, yeah.
the cluster will stop handling your write and read requests. Okay.
Yeah. And as soon as I now refresh the page, all are there, which means I mean all of your tablet servers are healthy, alive, as well as your masks. Yeah. So yeah, it is one of the demo, and this basically tells you how strong, how beautiful your cloud native databases can also be. It's not only about your applications, but also about the databases that can help you scale across multiple regions, right?
I love it. And what I wanted to add, because the good point. We used AWS today, but the same concept, the same architecture, you can run it pretty much anywhere you like. Let it be GCP, Azure, or your private data center, so your hybrid environments. It's up to you, meaning that architecturally the concept is the same. Your target platform can be different. So take this. Today we used AWS just as a reference platform, but you're free to run it in another cloud environment or private data center.
Because Kubernetes is the same, YugabyteDB is the same, and I guess Istio, you can install it also everywhere because it's on Kubernetes. Yeah.
Istio, it belongs to. Does it belong to the to this not to Kubernetes Foundation, but what we have this foundation, CNCF?
Yes, it is part of the CNCF Foundation. It has already graduated, I guess, and it's also open source. So you can go ahead and install it pretty much anywhere where you have Kubernetes.
Yeah, Frank can't stop thinking about open source stuff, because that's big. Frank, you spend too much time with Oracle, and right now you're trying to catch up. You're just trying to improve your karma. The good news is this is an excellent point, because everything that we use today, except for AWS, right? But this is the infrastructure. Whether you like it or not, you need to pay for your infrastructure, for your servers or public environment. The other components, Kubernetes, Istio, and Yugabyte, we have not used any paid feature. Everything was free, right? It's free of charge, and feel free to run it the way you like.
And we have a question. First, we have Eshwar, who says hi. Eshwar,
thanks for joining us, Eshwar.
Joining often our sessions and often has good questions. And we have another question from Tabani. So, how do you manage the unreplicated? So what is the truth before the next failure? Do you get notifications on SMS or via email? This is something you mentioned, open source. If you use only open source, then you have to monitor and do your notifications. If you have support, then a tool is coming with that also to send alerts. If you use the managed service, there are alerts. If not with open source, you just get the alerts from the JSON endpoint in the different one. But yeah, it's something to monitor. And unreplicated, everything continues to run because it is resilient, but you need at least to understand what happened. If it is a short failure, and everything will come back, and that will be fine. But if there is a full region down, maybe you will want to deploy on another region to restore the free replicas.
Exactly. And and I remember that several months ago, Frank, we did an episode on how to use Prometheus. We have this Prometheus endpoint, right?
Yeah.
And actually, yes, if you prefer to stick to open source, you can just consume all those events from a Prometheus endpoint, and you can use Grafana dashboard, whatever, just to build that notification system. If you want to see the ways how to optimize, meaning that you want to use something that already does this, we at Yugabyte, we work for a company. We create YugabyteDB, but we work for a company called Yugabyte, which means that we somehow earn the money. We have YugabyteDB managed, a database as a service, and we have YugabyteDB Anywhere, also a database as a service for private deployments. And those versions, they come with the UI and with monitoring and management capabilities. So that's what else we have for paid customers. Another follow-up question is, can you install Istio as a Docker installation? I think that Vishnu, this goes to you.
Yep. So basically, Istio can be used as a Docker installation. So if here you mean the Docker Compose or using Docker Desktop on Kubernetes, yes, you can do that easily in your local machines. But again, since the purpose of Istio is to manage your multiple containers in an orchestrated fashion, like usually Kubernetes and Docker Compose. So you basically mostly use Istio in a fashion where you have multiple containers and you have some container orchestration like Kubernetes or Docker Compose. So yes, you can go ahead and install Istio locally in Docker Desktop, Rancher Desktop, or pretty much any tool that you have locally. And also you can use Istio for Docker Compose as well.
Excellent. So
I hope I have answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I have nothing to
If we
add.
have 1 minute, I want to share my screen.
Okay, you can't. It's that happens all the time, and until Frank shows us something, the live stream is not over. Let's go for it.
Just to show to people that it's easy to follow the instruction from Vishnu, because while I already started an EKS cluster myself just before, and I did the same as you did, copy pasting from your blog post, and now I have my cluster that is up for 16 minutes for the last node. So just saying that we can do that just following your instruction, and that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Thank you so much. That's quite encouraging.
Yeah. Excellent. Verified by Frank, right? Certified by Frank.
Yeah, verified.
Cool.
And absolutely, Frank is a legend as well. So yeah, it's an honor.
So any last thought, Vishnu, before we go? Yeah, and we have feedback from Tabani. Thanks, I feel empowered. Here you go. So from my side, I would say that thanks, Vishnu, a lot for joining this session and showing us how it works in practice. It was really, the underlying stack is not it's not super easy. I mean, like, you have to deploy multiple Kubernetes clusters. You have to use Istio, or you need to run in a multi-region configuration on AWS or other cloud environment. But once you know how to do that, once you automate this, and you showed us the automated scripts and instructions, it's going to be easy. And as a result, you're getting a multi-region application. And just folks, remember the demo, like when Vishnu just tapped this node and emulating an outage in the region, and guess what? No any data loss, and the application instance just reconnected automatically to continue executing the request over the remaining nodes. So thanks a lot for this demo. I hope that Tabani is the justification that was very useful. And I hope those of us who will be watching us on demand, they will also would love what you showed us.
Yeah, this will be available on YouTube.
It's already available on YouTube, actually. Yeah, it's already available on YouTube.
Yeah, it's live on YouTube, and then the recording
yeah.
stays. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It's an honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, and why not? Like, we can repeat this in the future once you have something else to show to the YugabyteDB community. Keep mastering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye, my friend. Yeah, bye-bye.